All right, welcome to Signature 2020. We're so thrilled to have each of you here this week. I'm Morgan, I'm the Western District President. And today we have our lovely presenters. We have Hannah, who is our Western District Vice President of Special Projects. And we also have Siobhan with us today, who is our National Vice President of Special Projects. And they will be here to advise you on how to plan for Focus on 5. So I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Hannah.
Cool. All right. So I have a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm gonna be sharing my screen. With that, I cannot see the chat when I do that because I'm on an iPad. So if you have any questions that you want to put in there, Morgan is gonna field those for me just because I can't see anything when I'm doing that. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can y'all see everything? Okay. All right, so this is our presentation on planning for Focus on 5. So basically we're just gonna kind of go over what the campaign is for this year and some tips and suggestions for things you can do and ways to manage things with our current situations. So what is Focus on 5? It was started by Jonathan Markowski when he was the National VPSP in 2014. For me, that was my first year in TBS. So I remember kind of as the program was first starting and developing, and it was designed to encourage chapters to participate in our national programs. Prior to that, there wasn't a really good set, like this is what you can do, how you should do it. It was chapters weren't participating a whole bunch, so this program has really helped put a focus on how to participate in those programs and the best way to move forward. So this past year, the 2019-2020 campaign, we had 4 chapters in our district complete all of them. It would be Omicron, Omega, Zeta Xi, and Beta Delta. So congrats to those chapters. It was a really good job. All right, so moving right along, we'll go through what each of them are. So for the red stripe, it's going to be due Friday, October 16th. This one is the one that's basically about getting in the basics, the paperwork things that we need to have for the year. You need to appoint a Focus on 5 liaison and have them join the Focus on 5 campaign Facebook group. Email your chapter budget and constitution to your district counselors. And as a chapter, watch the new risk management video, play the risk management Kahoot game, and take a picture with the Take a Stand for TBS pledge cards. So some pretty easy stuff for this one. For this one, the main thing is you got to start early. Don't put it off to the last minute. Make sure that you are in communication with the other chapter officers about like, when are we going to take care of these things? When can we have an executive council meeting to make sure our constitution is good and our budget is ready to go? What day are we going to watch the video? I know for my chapter personally, there was one year where we really poorly planned and then had to do it after riding a bus for 12 hours and we were all miserable. So don't put yourself through that. Make sure you plan early and you know this is the date that we're going to do it. And with that, communication is the big thing, making sure that your whole chapter is on board. You've talked about these policies and that you know who the liaison is, getting that signed. And then also, don't be afraid to make it fun. I know a lot of times we're like, oh, we have to do risk management, and everyone kind of is like, oh no, like it can kind of be, people don't want to do it, people drag their feet. So don't be afraid to make it fun. In the past, we've had chapters color in their little cards, which is always fun. And I mean, there's a Kahoot game. Kahoot's always fun. Make it more of a challenge. See who can win the most points, you know, just making it more interesting than just sitting there and being bored. That's what I would say for that one. And with this one as well, it's also really easy to do it online if your chapter does have to go entirely virtual for the fall. So it's a super easy one to transfer over to that for sure.
Siobhan is also made an excellent point that there have been some pretty significant updates to our policies, so it is important for everyone to review them. It's going to be new for all of you, not just the new members.
Yep. So that'll be and you can find all of the details for that will be on the Focus on 5 Facebook page for sure. So important to have your liaison on there to get that info. For our White Stripe, this one is due June 1st. It's to host a TS CODA project for senior citizens and to post pictures of the event in the Focus on 5 Facebook group. So this is a really great example of a project that was done by Omega for the 2019-2020 year. This was a project that they've been doing for over 50 years, which is like crazy. So they go and they play holiday tunes for folks at the Arizona's Children Colony. Children Colony is a care facility for fundamentally disabled elderly. And this is it's a great example. It really shows how important our national programs are and how they can really become a centerpiece of our communities. And like, obviously, if this wasn't making a difference, Omega wouldn't have been doing it for 50 years. So this has become something that's very important to these people. It's just a great example of how we can make a really big difference in our communities with these projects. So things for this one, you do need to make sure that it's something band focused with your instruments, preferably. Like, don't just go sing tunes for people. That's not going to count as a project. We are a band organization and we need to make sure that we're sticking with band things for that. With this one, don't be afraid to think outside the box. Right now with COVID and with everything going on, there's a lot of places where we can't get together in person and we can't go into these facilities. So there are alternative options with this that we can still do. You can consider having a parking lot performance. So go stand 6 feet social distance out in the parking lot and play for them, and band instruments are loud, they'll still be able to hear us. So that's something that if they have that space, that's a great opportunity. We can live stream or pre-record performances. A lot of these facilities have media rooms or areas where they can show videos and things. So we all have phones, we all have, you can record your groups playing solos, or each play your music and put it all together in a video and then send that to them. And then if you can go in, but not in the numbers that you're used to, consider going several times in smaller groups. So if they only let 3 people in at a time, then go like several times with 3 different people. So with COVID, those are just a few of the things we could potentially be doing to still fulfill this without being unsafe, as it were. And then in general with this one, make sure you practice before you go. You don't want to be that group that tries to throw something together the night before and then you show up and embarrass yourselves. It's not fun. And it puts it puts the organization in a bad light, puts you in a bad light. So definitely make sure that you know what you're going to do and that you're ready to go before you go. And then also make sure to reach out to the facility in plenty of time, especially with the way that things are up and down and changing all over the place right now. You want to have plenty of time in case plans do need to change. And you also want to have plenty of time so that the residents who are there know that you're coming and they can plan on being there. So this is definitely one where we need to be careful. It is a more vulnerable population, and we want to make sure that we are keeping them safe and us safe as well. So if you have any questions about, will this project count? Is this safe to do? Don't be afraid to reach out. We can definitely help with that and with any questions regarding that one.
Hey, it's Siobhan. I have another note on CODA. And so, and with all of our national programs, as you go and do the Focus on 5 challenges, if you find that, like I know I was just doing some just general like information seeking for the CODA project to like kind of beef up the national programs. And sometimes the facilities wouldn't even answer or call me back. And so if you find that you are having issues with getting in touch with somebody now, go ahead and just set a plan together, maybe fill out make a little form and says, this is the type of activity we'd like to do, and try and attempt to do it in the springtime with I guess I'm lighting all the candles and charging all of my crystals with the hope that, things will be a little bit more normal, so you can be able to still interact with the elder care or the facilities in your community in the spring.
Yep, for sure. Okay. So the next thing we've got is the Blue Stripes, also due June 1st. And this one is to host a Women in Music Speaker Series event for your campus and community with reception following. And take pictures of the event in progress, reception, and promotional materials and post it on the Focus on 5 Facebook group. So for this one, make sure that when you're reaching out to these individuals that you want to come and present or talk to you, that you're reaching out in a professional manner. We do want to give them the respect that they deserve. The people that we're reaching out to generally are individuals who've put a lot of time and effort into getting where they are, and we want to make sure that we respect them and their professions. So just making sure that we're reaching out to them in an appropriate manner. If it is something that you're going to have to be hosting digitally, which is super possible with this one, this is a great project, very easy to do via Zoom. So if you are hosting it digitally, make sure that you record it and you can share it. You can live stream it on Facebook and share it, and you can get more viewers. So if you have, there's like sisters across the district or even across the nation who might be interested in coming and watching. So be sure to share that and let people know so that you can get more viewers for that. And it's also, now's a really great time to reach out to people who are perhaps in a different part of the country who normally you wouldn't consider reaching out to for something like this. With a lot of things going virtual and being online, it's a great time to get in contact with those people. Like if there was a speaker at a WC that you really liked, but they're like 3 or 4 states away, if we're doing it virtually, definitely a good chance that they would be able to do that. It's a lot easier for people to come on virtual than to travel across the country for something like this. So it's a really great time to reach out for those people. Okay, so the next one is going to be the Green Stripe, due June 1st, and this one is to plan and execute a project for Crescendo, a musical youth initiative program, and then to take pictures of the event in progress and post it on the Focus on 5 Facebook group. So I really wanted to highlight a project that Epsilon Kappa did for this one for last year. So what they did is they teamed up with their brother Chapter Psi and hosted a day of music and leadership for high school students who were considering going to UCLA. It was super crazy awesome. They hosted a bunch of workshops on things like marching, team leadership, self-care, like musicianship. Originally it was meant to be held in person, but they adapted and hosted the whole thing over Zoom and had 107 students signed up prior to the event, which is so many people. That's crazy. So this was a really good example of how, even though things are crazy and things are changing, it's totally possible to adapt and host things online and to really make a difference. Like they were able to have kids that normally wouldn't have been able to go to this event were able to sign up and reach a lot of people who might have been considering going to UCLA. So this is a really great example of something that you can do for a Crescendo project. For this one, right now, a lot of elementary, middle, and high school music programs are facing a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of schools who might be going fully virtual, who might be doing hybrid, school systems who they're not giving support to their music educators right now because they're like, things are weird. So it's definitely a great time to reach out and see how to help. Those educators know more so what they need. And if we reach out, then we can definitely help and support them when they need the help the most. I know there's a lot of teachers who are having to develop resources for online, and that's definitely something that we're capable of helping with, from making videos about different instruments to helping with virtual music lessons or sitting in on sectionals, tutorials on how to like properly clean your instrument, and many things that we're completely capable of doing that would help lighten that load on those teachers. So it's definitely another time to, think a little bit outside the box, try something try something new and reach out to see how we can help. It's something I think that would be really important right now for our communities. Okay, the Black Stripe is due April 15th. This one is to promote and host a recording session for the 2021 National Intercollegiate Band auditions for your music department. And then post a picture of your promotional materials and of individuals recording their audition to the Focus on 5 Facebook page. So with this one, more info about conductor, composer, what you need for the audition is going to become available closer to the deadline. So just keep an eye out. All of that information will become available. As that information becomes available, it will be posted. You can also, something to consider is looking at what recording facilities that your school has that you might be able to use. You know, a lot of music departments and like film departments have recording equipment that students can rent out for use, a lot of times for free. And it would be great to be able to better record people's auditions so that they can have like the full quality on those videos as they're sending them in. Consider setting up more than one audition day. A lot of people, if you set it up one time, they might want to audition, they might not be able to go, and that might be the deciding factor for them, or if they audition or not. So consider having more than one day, just in case, so that more people have a chance. We'd also love to have a larger TBS presence in the NIB band. So really consider encouraging chapter members to audition. Especially with this year, it's going to be the 75th anniversary for TBS there, and we'd love to have more sisters in the band. And all promotional materials will become available closer to the date as well. And then with this one, just kind of keep your eyes and ears open. Like, things are crazy right now. We don't know what spring is going to look like. We don't know what summer is going to look like. Things could change. It's kind of one of those things where you've just got to be aware and be prepared. So, all right. So now we'll move on to the lyre pieces. So this is the left lyre piece. It's due March 31st. And this is our district lyre piece. So for this one is to submit a detailed nomination for each of the Active Sister Awards, which we have 3. It's the Distinguished Sister Award, the Outstanding Graduating Senior, and the Unsung Hero Award. So for this one, we, as a district council, we're looking at what things that we could put as a lyre piece to really encourage and help our district to be better. And we really felt that we have so many great sisters who deserve to be noticed for what they're doing and currently are not. And we would love for there to be more nominations for our awards so we can really recognize the people who are putting in the hard work. So for this one, you could consider putting together a committee to nominate people. So if you're a larger chapter, consider getting like 5 or so people to sit down together and work on this. Because we do want the nominations to be detailed enough that as a council we can give awards to the people who fully deserve them. When we are picking people for awards, we only go off of the information that is in the nominations. In order to be fair, we don't consider anything we know outside of that. So you really want to make sure that when you're writing them, that it's concise, it shows exactly why they deserve it, and that like all of the information is being fully answered so that we can pick the best people for the awards. So just making sure that you really focus on having a nice, well-rounded nomination for people. And with that, keep an eye on the deadline. Don't wait till the last minute. It's always obvious when someone sends one in last minute. And like I said, we can only go off what information is in the nomination, in the info that you give us. So if it's a last minute one that's not very clear, then the likelihood of that person who probably deserves the award getting it is going to be a lot lower. And for the center lyre piece, this is due June 1st, and this is to use the For Greater Practice Initiative Guide for 3 months. Chapter members are encouraged to practice for 1 hour a week for 3 months to meet their chapter's total. And it's to log all the practice hours and post a link to log, as well as some photos of members practicing to the Focus on 5 Facebook group. So for people who don't really know what this initiative is, it is one that we haven't super been prevalent with up until now. And this one it's all about making sure that we as sisters are still working to cultivate and develop our musical talents. We want to make sure that, like, we're a music sorority. We want to make sure that people are getting better at their instruments. Like, that's a big part of musicianship, is practicing your instrument. And we want to encourage that. So with this one, practice hours should be with an instrument or color guard equipment. That being said, if you are learning a new instrument, or if you are learning like the piano or the ukulele, you can count those practice hours. It just is not something like just singing your chapter song wouldn't be able to count towards this. But if you are practicing as a chapter for your coda or crescendo projects, then you can definitely count those hours towards this practice. So for example, if there are 12 members of your chapter and you practice together for an hour, that would be 12 practice hours that you could log. And we really want to encourage everyone to participate, not just the music majors. I think we all know music majors are constantly practicing, and they could probably fill out their whole chapters 3 months on their own, because music majors practice a lot. This is what their degree is about. So we definitely want to make sure that other members are participating as well, and not just leaving it all on that person's shoulders, because that's not fair. And we're trying to encourage more people to practice their music. So I have a link here. This is to the practice log, just so I can show y'all kind of how that works. So this is the Tau Beta Sigma for Greater Practice Initiative practice goal tracking sheet. So you can download a copy of this document. I believe it is on our website, and if it's not, then it's definitely, there should be more details in the Focus on 5 Facebook group as well. But basically what this does, it'll help you calculate the number, your practice goal that you're trying to get. So for example, so you would put the number of chapter members that you have in the little green box, and then it'll tell you your goal, and then it'll give you your overall practice program goal. So if you had 30 members of your chapter, then your practice goal for each month is 60 hours. So your total over 3 months would be 180 practice hours. So this shows all of how you calculate that. There's a link here to a Google form if you're having your chapter members submit their practice hours like that. And then also there's a practice hour tracker right here. So if you see at the top, it has the names of the chapter members. You can, for each week, add in their totals and then have the whole total for the whole chapter or the whole month. So this is just a really great resource to make that a little bit easier for everyone to figure that out. Okay, so that is that one. All right, and then our Write Liar piece, which is due July 13th, is to seat a delegate at NatCon, and they need to be present on time for the seating of the delegates. So this is super exciting. National Convention is going to be July 13th through 17th, 2021 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, and at this convention, we're going to be celebrating our 75th anniversary. It's going to be super fun, and we really want as many people to go as is possible. It's a great way to connect with sisters across the country and be involved in making decisions that directly affect you for the upcoming biennium. It's where we do a lot. It's where we elect for the National Council for the upcoming term. It's like elections. There's also committees on all of the programs to overlook all of those things. So it's a really great opportunity to not only network, but learn more about our organization and really have a hand in that. And we really would love for each chapter to have a delegate and high attendance of its active members at convention. It's going to be a really great one, and we really want the West to have a good representation at it. So to help with that, you can consider joining the Tau Beta Sigma 2021 National Convention Savings Plan Challenge group on Facebook. So there's fun challenges on helping for saving up, and sometimes they do, like, I believe you can win prizes sometimes and things like that. So it's just a really good way to make sure that you're focusing on saving up for that. If you, for some reason, can't find it and you want to be added to it, you can just shoot me a message, and I'm in that Facebook group, so I can definitely add you to that. So yeah, we definitely want national convention is super fun. And we'd love for everyone to be there. All right, and then
I am the facilitator for that group, and so with the National Convention Savings Plan, you may even have the opportunity to win registration to national conventions. So make sure that you join. Actually, if you join next week, we'll be starting a challenge for our first drawing for a cash money prize. So join the group. Tell your friends.
Yep, it's gonna be super great. And then just some basic resources for everyone is we have the Tau Beta Sigma National Programs Guide. This is under the resources tab on tvsigma.org. So it's a super great resource. It has everything from letters that you can send to people if you're asking, like guides for letters to send to people for asking them about things, it's got ideas on things you can do, and plenty of information on all of that stuff. And it has recently been overlooked and updated, so now is a great time to check that out. You can always reach out to me. So that's my email right there and my phone number. So if you have any questions at any point, please just shoot me a text, shoot me an email, and I will get back to you as soon as I can on that. We have Siobhan as well as our national VPSP. I included her email there. Siobhan knows everything about Focus on 5. It's her thing for this year, so she's definitely there. And then just making sure that you're on the Tau Beta Sigma Focus on 5 campaign Facebook group. There is only one person from each chapter on that group, so it's just for the Focus on 5 liaisons, but that's definitely a place where a lot of information is. So just really want to make sure that your liaison is on there. Okay. Okay, I think I may have stopped sharing. Okay. I think I stopped sharing my screen. Okay, cool. And then I just wanted to spend this last little bit talking about any of like the big questions that you guys have or anything you wanted to go back and go over in regards to this, because I know that was a lot of information and there's a lot. So yeah, if you guys have questions or things that you want to talk about in regards to that, now is a great time. Was there any of the ones that you guys wanted to go back over that you wanted more details about, particularly in a sense of how to do virtually or anything like that? Okay, well, here's a question, I guess. What, for your guys' chapters, do you have any ideas on things that you're going to be starting to do? Like, have you guys already started talking about this at all? Do you know kind of where your chapter stands on how they're going to proceed for the year? No. That's okay. Focus on 5 is a lot. It's a lot to plan and it's a lot to like look at. So something that I would say for sure to be aware of is don't overload your guys. Like, don't overload your schedule. A lot of times people will be like, okay, we're gonna do all of Focus on 5 in the fall semester. That's a lot. That's like, especially with football season, it's crazy. So that's something to really be aware of is, you know, make sure like spread your events out. Do a couple in the spring, a couple in the fall. Make sure that, you know, you can get them all done on time, but don't be like, all right, this weekend we're doing Coda, next weekend we're doing like it. Don't stress yourselves out that much, because that can be a lot. And then you have members who are like, oh no, I can only make it to one, and it can become super stressful. So that is something to watch out for. Have you guys had out of curiosity, since I think it's Sunny is from Omicron and then everyone else is from Zeta Xi, right? Okay. What has been a project that you guys have done for Focus on 5 in the past that you've really liked that's gone really well?
For Zeta Xi, something that we'd planned to do twice for the past 2 years, but unfortunately was canceled due to COVID, was returning to the elder care facility in our area. And I think it was really helpful because our Phi Mu Alpha chapter had previously performed there, so it was really easy to set it up with them. And they were really welcoming about it because they had previous experience with a musical group from our school. So it was really nice to just be able to conveniently go somewhere really close to our campus and be able to set that up with them and just be like, okay, yeah, we'll come back next year. It's something that's already set to be repeated if we want to keep doing that. So I think that was a really convenient and fun activity for us to do.
Yeah, that's really great. It's always good when you can build relationships with a center. Because like there was the example with Omega going somewhere for 50 years, like, wow, that's, so start setting up those relationships now and being able to keep them. That is something to be aware of too with COVID, is places that you've already been to before that trust you and that know that you're a good group is a great thing for right now. Because I'm sure that there are a lot of places that if you try to go there for the first time, they're going to be like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know you. So that's definitely a great one, is when you have those relationships already built up to use those. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and I'm all about relationships. I think that, I don't know about y'all, I'm an extrovert, so I need extra attention right now because I spend all day by myself talking to my cat. So having the opportunity to make relationships with like the different schools or the nursing homes and things that y'all do for CODA is a great way to like help them also, and even to just make sure that you have that relationship already built for when you can go back next year. So yeah. One thing I meant to say it earlier, but with talking about for greater practice, this will be the first time that like the general public will be able to use it. It was tested with a number of chapters, but one thing that is really great about for greater practice is that I know that Hannah said it, that it's for music majors and non-music majors. And honestly, it makes your chapter look really good. It makes your members look really good. I remember going and visiting a chapter, and a chapter of, they were having trouble like recruiting, and it was specifically like music majors weren't interested in TBS because none of the chapter members were music majors, and they were only in the marching band. And so I think it's a good point of like public relations, or even showing that even though, yes, you're serious about marching band, but you're serious about your instrument in general. So that, spending, 15 minutes in a practice room to actually practice, it's cool to see somebody wearing TBS showing, oh, they care about playing their instrument just like I do. Maybe I should join this group. And then also like for your band directors as well, because, he likes to see their band directors like to see their members of TBS and KK Psi like serving and, being musicians and students more than they like seeing us, hanging out in the lobby and like laughing and have a good time. Yes, he enjoys, we have to live our lives, but they also want to see these organizations doing the core of our organizations is, being great musicians, great leaders, and serving the band. So yeah, I think it's a cool thing, and it's something that can challenge every member of your chapter, from flags, dance numbers, twirlers, people who want to learn new instruments, like Hannah said too. And so, I think it'll be really valuable and a help to grow your chapter as well.
Yeah, and to piggyback of that, something that just made me think of that I think is important to talk about is when you're planning your Focus on 5 events, and really any event, make sure that you're not conflicting with already with like band practices or like rehearsals or things that you're required to be at for being in your band. Bye, Siobhan. So definitely something that Omicron struggled with for a while was we had a very poor relationship with our marching band director, and it was really bad, and he did not support us. There was just not a good thing there, and we found out that a lot of his misconceptions about us were due to the fact that in the spring, when there was pep band, members were going to district events and not getting subs for their games that they were supposed to be at, or they'd be like they would do a project, but they'd plan it when there was a basketball game and then wouldn't tell him what was going on. And that's something that I find is really important, is making sure that you're very aware of your school's things that are going on, and making sure that if for some reason a project, if you're like, okay, we need to go play at this place at this time, it conflicts with this, get subs, or make sure you talk to your director first. So being in communication with people about those things is something that's really important. So that was something I just thought of that I figured I would share. Are there any other really cool projects people have known about or done that you can share?
I mean, it's not glamorous, but things have just clicked for me suddenly. I didn't even realize back in the fall when Omicron did Red Stripe that was Red Stripe. I just remember it was like a perfect timing with coming back in the fall and actually like sitting down and hearing all of these regulations, and I mean, coloring together was also a blast about TBS, because I had also just joined in that previous spring semester. So I was still like, what did I jump into? What is happening? You know, you kind of hang on for the ride at the tail end of the spring semester. And it was such a great way for us to be able to sit down, socialize again, kind of get back into each other's lives, and to also get stuff done. Like, and now that I see that it was part of the Focus on 5, I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. You know what I'm talking about. It was helpful, and I know it's not the glamorous stripe, but for a newbie, it was very needed.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, I think right now a lot of us shut down chapter operations kind of fast in the spring. I know, you go from being like, yeah, we have a meeting next week, to being like, oh, we can't be in person. So what are we doing? And I know, I think Theta Delta talked about this the other day. I believe Omicron kind of did the same thing, where we just stopped having chapter meetings and we pretty much just held elections for the upcoming year. And then we're like, okay, we're going to kind of be done while we try to figure out what's going on. And so having one of your first or second meetings back be just kind of like a sit down, let's watch this video, remember who we are, why we're here, what we do, could be really important for this year, especially if you're having to do it virtually. We want to make sure we don't want to lose people because things are virtual. And that is, I mean, I'm sure that that's definitely a worry for a lot of people, is that how are we gonna keep things going with everything being crazy? So having just like a little like chance to reconnect, chance to go over like, yeah, remember we do these things because we're good, can be really helpful. So thank you for sharing that, Sunny.
On the paperwork front,
So
as you're planning for your paperwork, just from the president's perspective, those two items there that are part of the Red Stripe, the Constitution and the budget, like Hannah said, plan ahead for those. This is a really great opportunity to review your Constitution that not every chapter takes every year. I'm sure in all of the Constitutions, which I will be reading them this month, I'm very excited for that, honestly. There are definitely going to be some things in there that are outdated or that just aren't working for you. Think about things like your attendance policy, especially in a virtual environment. You can still have an attendance policy for people to attend virtual meetings, but consider how you're enforcing that. Make sure that even if you can't see each other in person, you still want sisters to be active and involved. So make sure that you're looking into those items rather than just submitting last year's and letting it be for now. Also make sure that you get them done really early so that your chapter can vote, especially virtually. We don't really know how it will be for each chapter to try and get quorum. Hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult, but if your chapter scheduled one meeting right before the due date for you all to vote on these things and then you don't get quorum, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you to get everything out on time. And I will be calling all of your presidents very much the weeks before these are due to make sure that you are on track and getting them done, but just keep that in mind as a member of your chapter to get a head start on those, especially those of you who have been virtual for, oh boy, 9 months? No, 4 months? I don't know, time has no meaning anymore. It's been a very long time. We've been virtual since March. That is a long time. But yeah, just a little note. Please do your paperwork. It's very exciting for me to get all of those in on time.
Yeah, and this year we'd love it any year, but we'd love to have everyone complete the Focus on 5 campaign. Like, both the chapters that are here did, so shout out to all of us for being awesome this last year. But we really want to make sure we do it again. I think overall for our district, we had like a completion rate of like 65% of national programs totally. So we definitely want to make sure to do our best to do all of that. We want to show all of the other districts why we're better than them, because, you know, West is the best, like, it's true. So we need to like really come through and be like, yeah, no, we did this, we got this. So it's a great chance to really prove to everyone that no matter what's going on in the world, no matter how crazy things are, we're adaptable and we can do harder things and it'll work out. Trying to think if I had anything else. If this was more a consideration for like in person, if you can do in person, but something that's fun, that I don't know that a lot of chapters think about that I did want to mention was consider, especially if you are close to another another TBS chapter, is you can like team up and do these projects. So I don't know my geography at all, so I don't know if Zeta Xi is close to anyone. I don't know. But for Omicron, for example, we're only like an hour and a half drive from Theta Eta. So in the past, one of the first projects that I ever participated in was way back when Crescendo was called Scouting for Music and was about Girl Scouts. We did, for 2 years in a row, we did a project with them where they came up to Salt Lake, and it was us, them, and then their brother chapter, and we brought in a bunch of Girl Scouts, and we helped them get their music badges. And it was like a half-day thing. We did lunch for the girls. It was super fun, and it was a really great way to connect with another chapter, and both of us got those projects done. So it's easier to work with someone else, especially if you're a smaller chapter, which we were at the time. So we could, on our own, we wouldn't have been able to do that. We had like 4 or 5 people who showed up, but when they brought their like 6 people and then us together, it made it work. So that's definitely something to consider if it's a viable option for staying safe. I know that Zeta Xi has grown a lot in the last couple of years. So
y'all are like 3 hours-ish from EK. You can always meet in the middle. That is always an option.
And I mean, even virtually, like if you're wanting to do like a virtual project about like if you want to put together like a video of y'all playing music, you could, and you don't have all the instrumentation, you could reach out to another chapter and say, hey, do you guys have people who play these instruments? Here's some music. Let's put together a cool video. You know those videos that people have been doing where it's like all the individual screens and then playing their instruments, and then someone puts it all together and it's like really cool. And I wish I could do that, but I'm not, I don't know anything. I'm not computer savvy enough to figure that out, but I'm sure that we all know someone who is. So that could be a really cool project to do with another chapter from far away. So there's a lot of options and a lot of cool ways to connect with each other, even while we're being socially distant. And like I said, there's a lot of good options. All of our Focus on 5 programs are achievable. That's the big thing. There isn't any of these that I would say, oh, well, with COVID, we can't do that. We can do all of them. And I really want us to push this year and go for that. I know with the way things ended the last year, a lot of us, I know, like at least for Omicron, we got several of our stripes by just filling in the paperwork portion and by saying, here's what we were going to do, but we couldn't do it because of COVID. Being that we're going into this knowing what we're living with and what we're dealing with, it's a chance to actually do things and not just like sign some paperwork and say, well, this was the plan, but we didn't do it. Like, it'd be really great to actually achieve things this year. And I definitely think that with the timing, with now knowing what's going on, and with having the resources that we have, it's definitely possible. The National Council and district officers and stuff have been working on some paperwork. So it's like a guide essentially of what I think I don't remember what they're calling it, but we're coming out with some information. The pivot, yes, thank you, Morgan. We're coming out with information about how of ideas and things you can do that will have it all in like a concise like document that's going to be a really great resource. So look out for that. That'll be coming soon. It'll be here before the school year starts. So
Next week.
next week. Okay, I wanted to say next week, but I didn't want to get people's hopes up if it didn't come out next week. So
Adrian said yesterday that she doesn't know exactly which day yet, but next week.
sweet. So yeah, that's going to be really helpful. It'll definitely be something to look for. And then out of curiosity, do both chapters have their Focus on 5 liaisons set and in the Facebook group? Do we know that?
Not yet.
Oh, well, she lives in my house, so I'll beat her up about that. That's an easy one for me. I can do that.
Take that off my to-do list.
Yeah, I was like, that's my roommate. Okay, and then you guys do, so that's great. That's gonna be a big one. Okay, bye, Kayla. Thank you for coming. But yeah, as long as we have that, that's gonna be a really great space for information and where everything gets posted. So I just want to make sure that everyone has that. So I'll be starting to reach out to people about that for sure. I'm trying to think if I had anything else. Don't be afraid to have fun. That's my like last big thing is Focus on 5. We don't want to don't make it a chore, make it fun. Like we want to make sure like a lot of people are like, oh, service, gross. Like we want to make sure that we're having fun and the people that we're serving are having fun. So don't forget that. Yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thank you for this presentation, Hannah. I know it had a lot of helpful tips for people who are, I'm sure, very nervous about the fall. Hopefully you are much less nervous now with all of these great ideas. I would like to make a couple of plugs here for the rest of our signature events. First of all, immediately after this, if you are a soon-to-be or graduated senior, the WDAA is hosting a social event. We're going to be hanging out, playing some games. That is one of our social activities coming up in a few minutes here. And for anyone who is not one of those graduating seniors or just really likes the idea of it, which I would not blame you, Hannah is going to be hosting fruit carving, and that will be also in Zoom Room 1. Which Zoom room are we in right now? Zoom Room 2? Zoom Room 1. That will be in this.
I think, yeah.
So that fruit carving event, you can carve any fruit you like. And it will be a lot of fun. Definitely stick around for that if you can. Also, we have some other great events the rest of this week, but I would especially like to plug our awards celebration that's coming up on Friday night. It will be really awesome. We have some really fantastic applicants who we didn't get to celebrate at WDC this year. So we are very excited. And we haven't told any of them who has actually won. So it could be some of your sisters that you should definitely come and celebrate. So we will see you there, hopefully 7 p.m. PST, 8 MST in Zoom room 1. All right, well, you are all good to go now. And hopefully we see you at these social events happening in 4 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording.